Welcome back, Mob, to the Cream of the Crop 4th and 31 podcast, your one-stop shop for all things SEC and college football. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, hit that bell so you never miss a minute. Wait a minute, it's just come to my attention from the boss man himself that only 17% of you guys are actually subscribed. So smash the subscribe button right now. We'll wait. We got a few minutes. All right, got it? Cool. All right, I'm your host, part of the Killer Bees broadcasting team, the Chad Bullock, along with the boss, the man who signs the check, Scott, and the man, the myth, the legend, and the coach, Bo. Gentlemen, what a weekend of college football we had this weekend. The Tide rolls for their third straight victory on the Plains, something I never thought I would see in my lifetime. But before we get to dessert, that's right.
You know what that is? That's the ring for the pinky finger.
So before we get to the big one, let's start off with the Texas A&M game. I did not see this one coming. I thought A&M would win. You know, like we said last week, you don't pick against A&M until they lose. Well, they fell flat on their face in Austin, and Texas came to play, and A&M did not come to play. Boss, what you got?
I got to say, man, this was, of all the rivalry games, I thought this one would be, if we were going to see an upset, it was going to be this one. And it happened. A&M, in my opinion, fell on their face. I think I didn't see the A&M that I've seen all year. Let's just put it that way. I feel like they I don't want to say they were overlooking Texas because they're not going to do that. But I felt like they just didn't. This isn't the same A&M team. You know, it wasn't. Texas and no, I'm not gonna disregard what they did because Texas played a hell of a game. They came to win and they knew what they were doing. Texas went into this game thinking we're gonna knock A&M out of this thing. They're not going to the SEC championship game, and if we can get in with 3 losses, dang it, we're going to. And I feel like that was Texas' thing because at the end of the day, and I've already heard talk about it, you know, why Texas can't get in? Why shouldn't they be able to get in? I know they've got 3 losses, but they've got great wins, a lot of great wins, and they do have an argument to get in this playoff. They very well do, and I think that was what they were going in. And this game was incredible, but I look at it more of a A&M. Just did not look like A&M. I mean, not the A&M we've seen all year. And I guess again, I know it's a rivalry game, and we could talk about that, you know, with our Iron Bowl. It's a different game, right? You're not preparation's the same, but the emotions are different. You know, you hate these guys. And let's not forget, Texas is coming in from the, you know, A&M's been here for a minute, right? They've been in the SEC, okay? Texas is just getting here, and that rivalry is going to be huge again because they're going to knock each other out. You know what I mean? They're going to hurt each other when it comes to winning conference championships. Okay, not to mention national championships, but conference championships. And Texas did the job. They did what they were supposed to do. Like I said at the beginning of this was the one rivalry game I thought there could be an upset, and indeed it was.
Yeah. Neither quarterback played worth a damn in this game. I mean, Manning 14 of 29, 179. That's below water. Reed 20 of 32, 180. He had 2 interceptions. Offensively for Texas, the only bright spot was Wisner. He ran 19 for 156. Bo, what you got?
Yeah, I just felt like this was a combination of 2 things. Well, first off, let me explain to you. There's several rules I have about college football. And one of the rules that I've long had is whatever you see in rivalry games, just kind of disregard it because these are different types of games. And this is why we like college football so much. And this is why we, on the one of the shows last week, we talked about how some of the rivalries in college football are going by the wayside, and you don't have as many of the great rivalries in traditional rivalries that you have in college football. But this is one of them. And those 2 fan bases, my gosh, they absolutely hate each other. And, you know, for me, it was 2 things. One, A&M did not play as well necessarily as they had all year. They struggled to get the run game going on a consistent basis. And then the turnovers. But number 2, those guys on the other side of the ball had something to do with it. Look, Texas, to their credit, kept that game with Ohio State. They could have bought their way out of it and just said, you know what? Because of the landscape and everything here, we'll give you some money. Go away, Ohio State. We'll pump some more oil out of the ground, sell some beef on the cattle market. We're good. We don't need it, guys. But they stayed. They played the game. They lost by 7. Now the real irony of it is the Florida game is what's keeping them out of the college football playoff. But at the same time, if they don't play that Ohio State game, now you're looking at potential of 6 SEC teams with 10 wins. Because you'd have to think if they're not playing Ohio State, they're probably playing a truck stop somewhere, and they get that 10th win, and then the loss to Florida doesn't even matter. But they kept the game. Kudos to Texas and to Sarkisian. I thought he did a good job of articulating that after the game. There's some coaches that get up there and they whine, like Mike Norvell in 23, got up there and whined and cried and complained and kind of threw a temper tantrum. But I thought that Sarkisian did a really good job of just stating his case of being like, look at our wins. Look at what we've done. I don't know that anybody has a resume quite as good as Texas. Take away the Florida loss, which you can't. But ultimately, that's what's going to keep them out of the playoff. Although I would say this, I would much rather see a 3-loss Texas than a potentially 5-loss Duke in the playoff. It's a joke.
Yeah, I agree with you. And, Mob, let us know what you think. Does Texas have a shot at getting in the playoffs? We will get into that later. There's no sense in getting into it now because they haven't released the top 25 yet. But that's going to be for discussion, and it's a good discussion because their resume is just as good as 4 or 5 above them, mainly Notre Dame. If you want to get into it, but that will definitely be for another time later this week. Let's get to our second game, clean old-fashioned hate. This was a offensive struggle on this one. My God, 16-9. Georgia kind of survives. And let me make sure I'm reading this right. 11-21 for 70 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, and then King he didn't do much better. 19-27 for 181 and 1 pick. Bo, what you got on this one?
Well, Kirby, I've always felt like he is one of the best game managers in college football. And as I was watching that game, he knew his defense had a stranglehold on that Georgia Tech offense. And, to attempt only 21 passes in a major college football game in this day and age, you could clearly see that once he realized he knew he had the matchups, of course, he knew that going in. But this Georgia Tech offense has scored a ton of points all year. They've gone up and down the field. They've gotten in some games where they've been in some track meets, and they've scored a lot of points. But they didn't have a chance of finding the end zone against Georgia. And that was a classic. Again, that's a classic rivalry game. Like you said, boss, emotions are high. The teams typically, the lesser team typically always plays above their head. And Georgia just said, you know what? We're just not going to turn the ball over. We're not going to do anything to put ourselves in a bad situation. Let's just end every drive in a kick. It doesn't matter what kind of kick it is. As long as we're kicking, we're not going to lose. And that clearly is what Kirby did. We've seen him do this before. It's not the first time he's ever done this. There was a game in that same dome against Clemson several years ago. I think it was they played in the Georgia Dome, but they played Clemson a couple years ago, and it was just like Clemson has no shot of even crossing the 50. So just don't do anything to mess the game up, and we're good. And that kind of seemed to be the same mentality that Kirby had. But boy, I tell you what, the fangs on that Georgia defense, man, they're good, brother. They are good.
Boss, what you got?
Yeah, man. Bo summed it up nicely. I was going to say very conservative. Kirby went the conservative route on this. They didn't have any worry they were going to lose this game. They're bigger, they're stronger, they're faster. They check all those boxes. And Tech has been on a downfall for the last month. They've been falling off that mountain. So I don't think there was any ever worry. I'm not saying that, they wasn't maybe overlooking them or whatever. Of course, they prepared for him. Of course, they practiced for him. But I don't think there was ever any too much worry. It was, look, let's just play this game conservative. Let's get out of here with the W and get ready for the SEC championship game. This game was, it's one of those, if you missed it, you didn't miss much.
If you blink, you missed it.
It was kind of boring. Like I said, conservative route with Kirby and Georgia. And then I feel like that was the right card to play. You come out of it, you're injury good. You're good on injuries. You don't have a lot going on there. And you're just preparing for the SEC championship game.
Yep. And I can't wait to talk about that one. But let's move on to maybe the second or third best rivalry in the country. We'll go to the game. Ohio State 27, Michigan 9. Before we get into this, I'll just say the no catch that Ohio State got in the end zone, that was not a touchdown. And we have instant replay to fix that, and they still can't fix it. And now, is that the reason why Michigan lost? No, they were going to lose that game anyway. But when you got replay, it's clear-cut evidence that the guy did not have control of the ball. And when he reestablished control, his foot was out of bounds. How could you not get that call right? Anyway, let me move on. Let me get off my soapbox here. Boss, what you got on this one?
Man, Michigan's bad. Michigan's bad on both sides of the ball. They got some playmakers. They got some guys that are going to be in the NFL, especially on defense, but not many. Very select few. But they're just bad. They're a bad football team. Not well coached. And then there's Ohio State, which is, like I said, blowing the doors off everybody all year long. I thought Michigan was going to make a game of it early on. It looked like it was going to be a game. Of course, as the game got longer, it got worse for them. Then the snow started. It was an entertaining first half, but I'll be honest with you, it was the snooze fest in the second half. Just you didn't get much out of Michigan after the first quarter, honestly. And Ohio State did what Ohio State does. Bo made a lot of good comments last week about, airing it out when they need to and running it when they need to. And I felt like there was a good balance this week. But Ohio State looked good. I'm going to say it. They did.
Yeah.
It's Michigan. So,
yeah.
I mean,
and Bo, I know how you just love Underwood. He went 8 for 18 for 63 yards and a pick. What you got, Bo?
Well, would anybody like to guess how many yards that Michigan rushed for in the second half? 1. A single yard. Now, here's the ultimate disrespect. And this is the difference in the two teams, Ohio State and Michigan. And this is the difference in the talent level and how far Michigan has really fallen. Michigan inflated themselves by beating some really bad teams this year. They really did. They played one quality out of conference team, Oklahoma. They got smashed. That game wasn't even close. And in that game, the ultimate disrespect, there was a 2nd and 5 that Michigan had, and there was in a legal formation or something. Anyway, so instead of backing it up to 2nd and 10 or 2nd and 15, whatever it would have been, I can't remember exactly if it was a 5-yard or a 10-yard penalty. I think it was just a 5-yard, but in any case, Ohio State declined the penalty and gave them 3rd and 5. And nobody does that. But Ryan Day knew, it's like, you're not going to get these 5 yards. So they run the ball as Michigan does on 3rd and 5. They gain a yard and then punt the ball. Michigan's offense is pathetic. They're awful. And you can talk about snow all you want. Ohio State played in the snow too. While I didn't think Ohio State was phenomenal, they were good. They were good. Both receivers, they're two star receivers. I don't think either one of them had over 50 or 60 yards receiving, but they both had a touchdown. So in other words, what I'm saying is when they got their chance to make a play, they made it. The first quarter, Michigan owned the first quarter and kicked 2 field goals. And I knew right then that game was over. The first play of the game, they went off tackle for like 35, and they got down inside the 20 and had to kick a field goal. What the second play of the game, Sagan throws a pick. He misreads the cover 2, throws a pick. They get held for a field goal. And outside of that, they scored 3 points. I mean, their offense is awful. Like you said, Chad, Underwood was like 8 of 18 for 63 yards, and that's not the first time that he's had a game like that. this year where he's thrown no touchdowns and he's had more about as many or more incompletions than he's had completions. I mean, it was just awful. Their offense is awful. He cannot throw from the pocket unless it's an RPO. The only time he throws the ball if it's an RPO or he's on the move. I think that coaching staff is abysmal. Now, I will say this: the only thing that kept them in the game was Wink Martindale. I think he's a high level defensive coordinator. But outside of that, I think that coaching staff. I mean, when all that stuff happened and all those coaches left, and then Sharon Moore's left there, kind of holding the bag, and he's your offensive genius. Allegedly. No, Michigan's got more problems coming down the road. And, you know, I heard somebody trying to say, oh, well, they got these recruits coming in, this, that, or the other. Well, until they can actually have a conventional offense, and what I mean by conventional offense, to be able to run and throw, to be able to throw from the pocket, to be able to actually run routes and to throw incomplete passes, this is more of what you're going to see. They're going to beat the bad teams. And they're going to play the good teams, and every time they play anybody that's close to their talent level, they're going to lose just about every time. And I really believe that a lot of Michigan's success this year was disguised by the fact that they played such a bad schedule. And I know Big Ten. I know. They didn't play a Division II team, and everybody they played was Division I. I know their best two offensive games were. Or three offensive games were Maryland, who won one conference game, Central Michigan, and New Mexico. So we can have that conversation for another day.
And we probably will. And I'm disappointed in both of you for not bringing up Ohio State's running back, namesake Bo Jackson, who rushed 22 times for 117. So you both failed.
No relation.
No, absolutely, no relation.
Yeah.
All right.
His first name is really Lamar, but for those that don't know, Lamar Jackson.
All right. Well, let's go to the Egg Bowl, because this one, this one was, I don't know. It started out kind of good. Mississippi State tried to make a game of it, and then Ole Miss just kind of scored when they had to. I mean, Chambliss, my God, how is Chambliss not on any Heisman ballots? I do not hear about Chambliss as much as you should. I mean, this guy's constantly having a 300-yard, 4-touchdown game, and it's like he better at least get invited to New York, which he probably won't, but he's got to be one of the most underrated players in the country. My God. Boss, what you got?
Well, Bo called it last week. He said there was going to be fights. These two hate each other. Yeah. You know, and I laugh
every year.
Let's play the feud.
When I saw that state bench clear, I was like, Bo hit it right the nail on the head right here. Here we go. I did like Lane Kiffin's comment though when they asked him at halftime about the fight. You know, and he's like, "Well, my guys did what they were supposed to do. They never left the sideline." You know, and I'm like, "Okay, cool." But anyway, no, we knew how this was going to end. We knew, you know, State started off like they do. You know, I just kept saying, when are they going to fall off? When is Ole Miss just going to take over? And sure enough, it didn't take too long. But I mean, they were scoring, but they were scoring when they wanted to, from anywhere on the field. They just couldn't be stopped. Felt bad for State. I did. Ended up being quite a good beating. I was in a house at the time with a bunch of State fans, so I was watching hearts being broken as it happened.
Clanga, 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 clanga. No, did he freeze? All right. Well, I mean, State cut it, 31-19? And then Ole Miss just had like an 88-yard touchdown pass to kind of seal it. Bo, what you got?
Yeah, that's usually one of the more entertaining rivalries, because you'll see all kinds of things. And we were joking around about this on the show. I mean, you'll see, you know, Ole Miss players crawling on all fours and hike their leg like they're a dog taking a leak. And I mean, we've seen some crazy stuff, bench clearing. We had another bench clear in that one. But I will say this though, there wasn't the pregame and postgame nonsense on the field between the two teams as we've seen in the past.
But we did have postgame nonsense, and I'll get to that when you get done.
Okay. Well, I mean, we had the people breaking into the state people breaking into the locker room
That's
the
not what
night
I'm talking
before,
about.
but I'm talking what I'm specifically talking about is we've seen in warm-ups fights and having to be separated and penalties being assessed in that game before they're even in uniform. And I really thought both coaches did a really good job of pretty much having good control of their teams. Now, I will say this first off. Let's start with Jeff Lebby. The competitiveness in that team is there. He is on the right track. The guy can coach ball, and we'll get to coaches later. But I am telling this guy, Lebby can flat out coach when he bolsters that roster a little bit, and he can get some more players. But it's going to be hard because Mississippi State, they have always been kind of a recruit and develop program. You know, do they have the money to spend in NIL? Can they go to Ferris State like Lane did and find a star quarterback, or can they go to some of the lower levels with NIL and bring in some more talent to go with the way they're recruiting? Because that quarterback they started in that game, they said that's the highest recruited quarterback they've ever had at the school come out of high school. So, and I believe he's a freshman. So, if they can hold on to him, Lebby stays, and they can build a solid pool of talent, this could be a very competitive team. Now, when I say competitive team, I'm not meaning go to Atlanta. They've only been to Atlanta once ever since we started the championship games, the SEC championship. So I'm not even talking about that, but I'm talking about building a solid program. It has been done before at Mississippi State when Dan Mullen was there. One of my players that played for me at Baker played left tackle for Dan Mullen. I mean, they were in bowl games every year. I mean, I think they won 10 games. They were ranked number one year when they went into Tuscaloosa, and that was a hard-fought physical game. I think that was like a 17-3 final or 20-10. I mean, it was something like that. I mean, that's what kind of players that Mississippi State had at that time. It can be done, but you got to get the right guy, and we saw what Mike Leach was able to do there in a different way. But Jeff Lebby's definitely on the right track. Now, Lane, a lot of people are going to fault Lane for leaving. And I don't fault Lane one bit, because all you people, and I'm saying you people, all you people that wanted players to get paid and unlimited transfer and just basically the wild, wild west of college football, this is what it has led to. So now it's perfectly okay in this atmosphere in college football for another institution to approach another coach and their agent about a coaching job, about a coaching vacancy when they're still coaching that team. So you can't get mad at Lane Kiffin for going, okay, I get a top 5 job. I got one of the top recruiting bases in the country. I've got unlimited assets and resources. Yes, check, please. I do not fault Lane one bit for leaving. And I'm going to tell you something else. Lane Kiffin at LSU, that's going to be a behemoth. Think about all the players that have come through LSU. Think about that Joe Burrow 2019 team. Think about all the receivers that have come through there. Odell Beckham, Malik Neighbors, on and on and on. Player after player after player. Lane Kiffin to LSU, he knows. He's not dumb. And for you Ole Miss people, I hate it for you. It sucks. But the reality is he made your program better. And Ole Miss is a much more desirable job than it was 6 years ago when Lane landed on campus. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of one of those things, like you dated a really, really hot chick and then she broke your heart. Well, at least you got to date her for a while. At least you got to be seen in public with her. So it's kind of the same thing. At least Ole Miss, you got to taste it. You're in the college football playoff. You know it can be done. Now you just need to make another good hire.
Well, I guess you can't turn a hoe into a housewife, as the beat reporter for Ole Miss said.
And that was phenomenal. Lane going right to that guy's face and getting in his face. That guy almost took a dump in his drawers. That was great.
But
that was freaking great.
But you know what? That guy was right, because he did leave at the first sign of a better deal. But that's going to be I can't stand it at the end. I have something. The NCAA's got to do something about this, and we'll definitely get into that a little bit later. All right, now on to Rocky Top as Vanderbilt goes into Knoxville and blows the doors off the Volunteers in the second half. That was crazy. Pavia doing Pavia stuff, 268 in the air and 165 on the ground. Boss, what you got?
Would you call this an upset?
No.
No?
Not this year.
Yeah.
Not this year.
Right. Exactly. Kind of saw this coming, you know. Did expect Tennessee to put up a little bit more of a fight. They clearly did not. Pavia had his way. Defense had their way. They just went in there and handled business. Easy as that. I mean, I don't have much to say about this game outside of that. I mean, to me it was expected. I didn't think Tennessee had a chance to win this game. I never did. And you know, Pavia has been saying it all year long. They want in the playoffs. So, you know, and they've got a handful of losses. You know, they can't lose anymore. And now they're right there as Texas is, sitting there with their hands out, wanting in this thing. So, and they just beat a tough Tennessee team. Tennessee's not easy to beat. We've all been there, you know, and they went in there and spanked them. I mean, they did. This was handling business if I've ever seen it done. So yeah. I'll leave it at that.
And I believe it was 31-3 in that in the second half. And that, to me, there's not a lot of teams that can go into Knoxville and just run Tennessee out of the stadium in the second half like Vanderbilt did.
Right.
I mean, that is absolutely nuts. I knew I had a good idea Vanderbilt was going to win. I didn't see him winning by 21. Bo, what you got?
Yeah. First off, this was one of my 2 money line winners that hit outright. Not a good weekend on the card, but this was one of them. I mean, I had Vanderbilt spread, Vanderbilt money line over the total, and Vanderbilt team total over, and they hit with ease. What a second half performance. I mean, look, I don't know that Pavia's skill set translates to the NFL, but by God, if I'm a general manager, I'm going to use a late round pick on this guy. He flat out gets it done. And it doesn't look pretty a lot of the time. But it doesn't have to look pretty. Results, I tell you what looks pretty is W.
Mm-hmm.
Putting a mark in the W column is what looks pretty.
Yeah. Right.
And that guy flat out can do it.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, when that happens, I really hope, I mean, I can just see this as a reality show right now. That when he's there and he gets the phone call from some general manager, Theo Vaughn's right there on the couch with him. Guys, come on now. Think about that. Think about that reality show. We got the Pavia family with Theo Vaughn and NFL training camp. Just put it on HBO. That can be your Hard Knocks this year. Don't do a team. Just do Diego Pavia and Theo Vaughn. And that's pure gold. But all kidding aside, that Vanderbilt team, they got some dudes. This ain't the Vanderbilt we grew up watching, guys. And I know we've talked about that before. Some people that are outside the Southeastern Conference, their mentality is, well, Vanderbilt's good because the SEC is down. Vanderbilt is good because Vanderbilt has dudes. Vanderbilt's got NFL guys on their offensive and defensive lines. They've got him at receiver, at tight end. Pavia's going to get a look. I'm not saying he'll stick, but they've got an absolute mastermind in Jerry Kill. I've talked about him a bunch on the show. It's like he's the missing man. Like he's the invisible person. Nobody even knows who this guy is. But as long as he's there with Clark Lee, I am telling you, Vanderbilt is a legitimate, yes, I'm going to say that one more time. Vanderbilt is a legitimate contender as long as those two are there working together.
I agree. I mean, he's proven it. I mean, but I think he's going to have to do it without Pavia one time. I mean, you have a generational talent at quarterback.
The one thing I will say about Jerry Kill is he did it at Northern Illinois without Pavia.
Okay.
Now, granted, that's a lower level, and I understand that, but he's also playing with lesser talent too.
No, I get it. I get it, but you also have a generational quarterback, talent at quarterback. I'm not saying he can't. I just want to see him do it, next year, with a different quarterback. All right, boys. Let's see. What do we have left? Oh, wait. Our 6th game on the schedule corresponds with a 6-game win streak. See what I did there? as Alabama goes into Jordan-Hare 27-20. They say no win is ugly. It was an ugly win. Bama with the 17-0 lead kind of let that evaporate. But when the chips were down, when Ty Simpson had to make a play, by God, that son of a gun made it. One heck of a throw on the 4th and 2. I mean that's his best throw of the year without a doubt. Especially when it was in crunch time.
Mm-hmm.
That 6-7 minute drive they had at the end of the fourth quarter. I mean, as a Bama fan, you can't ask for anything better than that. Boss, what you got?
Well, perfectly said, Chad. I've got first half, probably the best I've seen Bama play all year long. That first half was great. Offensively, defensively, special teams. Look at Talty. Huh? I mean, great first half. Second half, blood pressure went up a little bit.
Popping a nitro.
Right before halftime, we started struggling moving the ball. I feel like Auburn's defense was really keying in on some of our things. We did really well. We did really well rushing the ball in the first half. That kind of slowed down in the second, right at the end of the first, exactly. So I mean, it's great game. I can't look, man. Did I cuss? Did I scream? Did I yell at the board of Penn State? Maybe. I'm guilty. I was in the moment. All right, but the offense does drive me crazy. It does. I'm not gonna lie, but our defense, man, I can't say enough about them and the way we won the game. I thought all three and real quick before I move on, the Ty Simpson's legs, key moments last night with those key plays with his legs, getting those first downs. We haven't seen enough of that this year. I thought that was great, man. I mean, he was literally getting out of the pocket, moving up. I mean, he was working it, man. And then he'd start running, and the whole time you're like, "Where's this been? This is great."
Yes.
I mean, it was when you needed it, he got it. If I've ever said Ty Simpson in clutch, it was last night. I mean, I gotta say, between that and what you mentioned earlier with the 4th and 2, whole time I'm got my arms in the air, going, "What are we doing? 4th and 2, take the points." Well, no. I mean, he got it. He threw a dart and hit Horton with a laser. So no, I can't. Look. I can fuss and complain about some things from last night's game, but I will say this: Auburn played like nails, man. They were tough as nails. Auburn brought it, and their fan base is ridiculous. I mean, you would have thought they were undefeated going into that game last night. That stadium was loud the entire game. So I props to Auburn. Nothing to hold your head down about. You guys played lights out. Dropped the ball a lot, and I feel like that's at the end of the day. I feel like that's what killed you. I feel like that was your deal. I mean, you guys were dropping balls like crazy, especially in the first half. And you make a couple of those catches, we may be having a different conversation today. But drop balls, penalties, referees kind of felt were shaky on both sides. I don't think they were going either way, because there was a lot of calls and non-calls on both sides of the field last night. But overall, Bama wins. We got to 6, rolling on the next year, and Auburn will have a new coach. Can't wait to see, what's going to go on with that. And that's all I got for last night, man. Roll Tide.
I'm going to throw a little bit of cold water on the fire because, Simpson is still missing easy throws. He missed 2 easy throws last. One could have been a touchdown, and one he shot over a receiver's head, I think, in the third quarter. I get you're not going to make them all, but at some point you got to start hitting some of the easier ones. And then I also felt like when he did make good throws, our receivers couldn't catch it. So that's another thing. And as far as like with the Auburn drops, if Alabama had covered a couple of those fumbles, that's also a different game because Auburn fumbled 4 times. Alabama recovered, I believe, 1 of them. So, but Bo, what you got?
Well, when we were growing up, and there was a time where Saturday Night Live was some of the best entertainment on television. And for you younger viewers that don't know, they had a skit on there, the Super Fans, and Chris Farley played one of the one of the characters, Todd O'Connor.
And
for those of you who don't know, they were the super fans, and it was all about the Bears and Coach Ditka
and the Bulls.
And so they would everything they did on the show. They just embellished how great the Bears were, and the Bulls and all kinds of stuff. But there were times on the show where Chris Farley, the information would hit him so hard, the Todd O'Connor character, it would hit him so hard that it would literally force him to have a heart attack. And there were times in a 4-minute skit that he would have multiple heart attacks because the information he just couldn't process. Okay, so I had about, to sum that up, I had about 85 heart attacks last night. At one point, I went into a full shock. Then I passed out. I totally blacked out at one point. And the only thing that woke me up is I had my hand in a bowl of flaming hot nacho cheese. And while intravenously I was being pumped barbecue sauce into the veins, and then I was force-fed some Dreamland ribs. And that's the only thing that got me right, and then Bama won. And that's all I can tell you.
But if this is the thing, go ahead.
It was phenomenal. I mean, what a game! I mean, and just a couple of points. The defense, phenomenal game plan. They didn't come after Daniels. They made him hold that football, squeeze the air out of that football, and be pinpoint accurate. And he threw the damn thing all over the place. And then when he finally did hit his receivers, our defensive backs were either there to punch it out, or they just flat out dropped a couple. But some of those were forced. That game plan, phenomenal. Now, he mixed some looks up here and there and brought a little heat, but not too much. Because the way a guy like that beats you is the two big plays Auburn had. One for a touchdown that got called back, and the other one went for a touchdown. Plays where he got out of the pocket and extended the play and hit the receiver on a busted route. When he stayed in the pocket and had to hold the football, no chance. No chance. That Alabama defense is very, very good. I mean, that's the number 8 overall total defense in the country. They're very good. Now, offensively, I thought that was such a that was a hard-nosed performance by that offense because they ran the ball more. They ran the ball with power. They ran the ball straight ahead. And also something about Ty. Ty did such a great job every play at the line of scrimmage, getting the plays right, getting the checks right, getting him in the right protection. He did such a good job of managing that game and not doing anything that was negative and hurt the team. In my eye, I mean, that was catastrophic to the team is what I'm saying. He was so good at the line, getting them in and out of the right protections, changing, and so on and so forth. Now, 2 things. One, I thought that we were up 17-0, and then we got the ball back right before half. I was like, oh, man, if we could just go down and just put a drive together and get 3 here before half, go up 20-0, what's the first thing we do? We run a freaking trick play. Didn't need to. And then we got behind the sticks, and then we had to punt, and then Auburn goes down and gets the field goal, catches their breath. Okay, I thought that was the turning point of the game. 2, that 4th down play, that route combination they ran, unbelievable. They got in that trips bunch, and they took the guy that was closest to the outside, and they brought him across the formation. Okay, he was the one that ran the slant. That was Horton. And you can see the defensive back, he's reading inside. And if you're counting from outside in, he would be the number 1 man. The number 1 man comes across his face, but he doesn't realize it until it's already too late because Horton got the jump on him. And by the time he sees it, he was already across his face. And that was just a great, great concept right there. And Ty read it and saw it. He knew where he was going with that ball at the snap. So kudos to Bama. We got the win. We got the pinky ring, and on to Atlanta.
Yeah. And I'll say this: if you were a fan of neither team and just sat down and watched that game, man, what a game you were treated to. And that's why the
Mhm.
Iron Bowl is the best rivalry in college football, hands down. It's not even close. All right, so boys, did we pretty much sum up our good, the bad, and ugly for this game, boss?
Yeah. I mean, I could dive into a little negative. Not that we hadn't already covered a lot of it. The confusion on offense this late in the season drives me nuts. The unnecessary timeouts that we're calling, I felt like that could have hurt us when we were calling these. Are we? Did we use all three timeouts in the first half? Pretty
Yes,
sure we did.
used two
And
in the
then
first quarter.
in the second half, we were burning through timeouts in the second quarter, in the second half, and I'm like, I hope we don't need these later. Auburn is scoring points. This could definitely come back to hurt us later. And it's all because our offense is confused. And I feel like we're way too late in the season to be doing that. I understand it's Grubb's first year. I get all that, but we're at the end of the year and we still haven't gotten that figured out. We just look confused. So that if I'm going to nitpick, we won the game. But if I'm going to nitpick, that's one of the first things I'm going to. We got to do better at that. We're going into the playoffs. I mean, we got to win the SEC championship game. We got a tough game against Georgia coming up, but I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. But I mean, that's all I've got for the good, the bad, and the ugly. I've said everything good. My ugly is just confusion on offense. That's it.
All right, Bo, you got anything on good, bad, and the ugly? Did you get yours all out of the way?
Well, for the most part, I will say this: regardless of what happens with Alabama in games, there's things that we watch as fans, and we're going, "How do they do this? And why are they doing that?" You're playing in front of 95,000 people. It's probably one of the loudest environments that these players have ever been in. Of course, when you play on the road in the SEC, that's life in the SEC. These road games are so tough. But Tide did not have a great game as far as, completions and yards. But when they needed it, yet again, they went right down the field and punched it in. And there is something to be said. They have been put in so many uncomfortable situations this season. There is nothing that team, I guarantee you, psychologically, there is nothing they feel like they can't handle. We've talked about other teams and their schedules and playing soft and this, that, and the other. But this Alabama team, they have played one of the tougher schedules in the country and some of the biggest, rowdiest, loudest environments. And there is no uncomfortable situation that they have been put in that going forward, even if they have to play a road game in the first round of the playoffs, that you go, I'm not too worried about that. We'll be fine. But with that being said, I'm like you, Scott. There's some things on offense that I think I don't know if the plays are coming in late or if there's too much communication at the line of scrimmage. In other words, we're just trying to be perfect. We're trying to get everything perfect. Sometimes you don't need to be perfect. Just get the play and go because your guys are better and just let them eat. Just let them go do their thing. But that was a great signature drive, and I think that drive right there at the end of the game, that just sums up Alabama's season. It doesn't matter. They didn't play well in the second half on offense, but when they needed it, they went and got it.
Yeah, two things. That'll be on a Daniel Moore print here in the next month. And the only other thing I'll add to that is I put Ron Williams on a milk carton this morning because he was nowhere to be found. Now we'll get to the segment that I just can't stand. And what I can't stand is the NCAA letting teams talk to coaches during the season. And especially when you got a team going into the playoffs, NCAA, you have got to change this rule. No team should be able to talk to any coach who is active, obviously, while their season is going on. I don't know of any other sport that lets coaches in other schools or other teams talk during a season. That should not be allowed. You need to do something about it. As far as like the academic calendar, as far as I don't care that the signing day is in a few weeks. Push it back. It was in February for a reason. It should not be any closer to the end of the year. Put it the first Tuesday in February like it used to be, and quit letting schools talk to coaches while their season's still going on. That's not right, and the NCAA needs to step in and do something about it. Boss, what you got?
Let's talk about the committee and the and I'm going to beat a dead horse here, guys. Okay. You should not, if you go to your conference championship game, right? You're in. Why are we worried? Georgia and Bama fans should not be concerned and worried about their team not making the playoffs because they lost their conference championship game. Otherwise, get rid of the championship game because who cares? And look, the SEC championship game was something I grew up loving. We all did. You know, it was a game we looked forward to. We all wanted to get there. We all wanted to see our team get there and win it. You know, well, if I've got to choose between a conference title and a national title, which one do you think I'm going to choose 100% of the time? I want that natty, you know, and that's where I'm at right now. As we get into this now, next week's championship week, we've got all these conference championship games, and you've got guys, you've got teams that are sitting there. Because look, how many times have you heard from other fan bases say, "I don't want in that game. We don't want in there." You know, a lot of people are like, you know, they're pumping fists because they didn't get there. They're more happy than Georgia and Alabama getting in, you know, because now we've got to worry. Well, what happens if we lose? Where do we go? What happens to us? We played in our conference championship game, and it's the SEC championship game at that. This is like a miniature national title, and the loser could possibly be out for what? So yeah, my I can't stand it is I can't stand this committee. I don't like the way they do it. I don't like the way the way they determine where teams are, and they need a set of rules set in place, like Chad just mentioned with the coaches. They've got a lot of stuff here they need to fix, and they need to do it quickly.
Yep, I agree. Bo, what you got?
Well, to your point, Scott, I don't think Alabama has anything to worry about, or Georgia, because both of them are in the rankings. It's not that they're out of the rankings looking in and needing this win. Neither one of them need the win because they're both pretty solidly in the rankings, and we'll check it on Tuesday to see who moves where. But I mean, if you know Alabama moves, I mean, even if they're the 10, they're in the ranking before the conference championship games. There is unless Alabama loses that game 68-0, I don't see how there's any way that they could penalize Alabama for playing a 13th game when you know good and well they're going to let Notre Dame in and they ain't playing a soul.
With you saying that, here's my thing. Remember, we're having this conversation because there is a team called Texas that is sitting there waiting. And I would not be at all surprised because they are one of the darlings of the NCAA. If they slide over us, if we are to lose to Georgia, if that is hypothetically, if that is to happen, I won't be shocked because I know how this goes. And I've seen this story before. And I'm telling you right now, I'm not going to be at all surprised if Bama were to lose, Texas slide in, and we're out.
I honestly don't think we have anything to worry about, but I will tell you what I can't stand is, and again, it was we're going on a rant about the playoff system. And by the way, my buddy Johnny, he was in rare form with the officiating. I mean, it was just horrendous both ways. It was awful. It was so great. I loved it. Watching a game with him is entertainment within itself. But anyway, what I can't stand is the fact that the ACC is so bad. They've got a 5-loss team who lost to UConn that may potentially make it into the college football playoff. Now, if Duke wins, the playoff committee doesn't have to take them. And that may open the door for a BYU or a Texas or a Vanderbilt. Okay? So in order to create mass chaos, have BYU win and or Duke win. And then you're looking at potentially some teams getting bumped. But, I mean, I just feel like Bama goes in, they play well. Let's just say they lose 27-24. I think they got nothing to worry about, nor Georgia. And I think whoever wins this game, is going to be bumped up into a top 4 spot.
I agree.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
100%.
SEC championship. SEC champion is going to get a bye without a doubt.
Yeah.
That's a done deal.
I agree.
All right, boys. Well, Mob, let us know what you think about all the games, about our shots at the Big Ten's weak rival, Michigan and Ohio State. No, I'm just joking. I kind of like that rivalry. All right, guys. And speaking of which, and I'm going to remind you, Mob, again, only 17% of you guys are subscribed, and I've got it right here. It says right here, 83% of you are not. So hit it. Hit the subscribe button so you never miss a second. For the boss, or the Boo Bird, he changed his name. And Coach Bo, I am the Chad Bullock. We will see you later.